Hey everybody, good morning. It's about 8:52 in the morning here. This is Thursday. Thursday on this short week. It's January 19th, 2023. I'm going to take a look at the S&P 500. We've had a nice move down. I want to kind of look at it a little bit here. Before I get into all of this, as you all know, this is not financial advice. I'm not your financial advisor. You're responsible for your own trades, managing your own risk, doing your own research, and this is, as always, just my humble opinion on the market. All right, so before I get into this, just to reiterate, we've had some good moves here on the market, and both in the traditional stock market and in crypto as well. If you want to be part of that action, you can find all that information on BitDoctor.org. All right, let's go ahead and move on into the chart. So I've got the S&P 500 futures on here, and we've had a nice move. I want to talk a little bit about the move that we've had, and to do that, I'm just going to kind of clear this out just a little bit, because I think there's a lot of people that are pretty bearish, and typically when that's the case, things don't end up going their way. But fact of the matter is, we had a nice strong move yesterday. Just to kind of put it into perspective, we had a little channel, right, that we were in, whether you realize it or not, and it's this yellow channel. And inside of this yellow channel, we had nice confluence here. We had a nice top here, a nice top here, a nice top here. So we have like 3 reference points to the upside, and then we had a nice low here, and actually 2 nice lows here, hour after hour. And then we found some support here. And then, of course, we broke through. And typically when that happens, we always look for a range expansion play. And that's really exactly what happened here. And what ended up happening is we had a range expansion from this yellow channel to expand down to the median, and we found a little bit of support there, and then we rolled over and we actually went to the 100% expansion target, which would have been from the open, right? I guess I shouldn't say from the open, but yesterday about 10 o'clock in the morning, we hit this level up here, which was at about 4,033. It was 4,033.50, and then we dropped, and the range expansion target was 117 points, and that's where we landed. So now that we're here, all right, so what's next, right? That's what everybody really wants to know. So I'm on an hourly time frame. And if you're looking at the screen, you're probably already seeing something that's a little bit of a warning sign here. And the warning sign is we've got, I'm going to delete this guy. It's not super relevant for the time being, but we've got a buy signal on the hourly time frame, and we haven't had one of those. I'm going to go ahead and get out my little eye that I tend to use here. So we've got a buy signal right here. What was the last time we had a buy signal? Well, it was, let's see here, it was right here before that big move up. And then we just kind of zoom out a little bit. Here's another buy signal. We had one right there. And let's kind of zoom out a little bit. And then, of course, we had a buy signal here, which didn't exactly pan out. We had a buy signal here, which had a nice little bounce. And then, of course, we had a buy signal here and a buy signal here. So there were warning signs on the way down that we were going to see, decent price action to the upside. All right, so now that we're there, we had that move to the upside. What exactly was it that we had, and what kind of confidence can we have that we're going to continue moving down? All right, well, first off, what I will warn currently is, we do have a nice buy signal here. What I will say is, the white wave is moving down ever so slightly, as we discussed a couple days ago. The red wave, as we discussed, was all the way up in overbought condition, and of course, now it has rolled over and it is pushing down. So there is some confluence that we are going to see another push down potentially in the coming days, maybe even the next week or so. But what are we actually in here? Are we in a 1-2 pattern, or are we in an A-B pattern? I tend to believe that we are in an A-B pattern. I don't believe that we are super bearish at the moment. I think that there is potential we could have downside, but to put this into perspective, if we're going to get that downside, let me just go ahead and remove the indicators for the time being. If we're going to get that downside, it's going to happen within the next roughly 3 weeks. And for this to actually hit by this mid-February timeframe, and I have a time cycle target at around February 13th, February 14th, right around Valentine's Day. And again, I also discussed this just the other day, talking about those time cycles. And we do have, nice rotation in these time cycles. But I would say that if we're going to see that downside target, we're going to have to see a move down here to like 3,400. It's going to have to break the lows that we saw last October. And I don't see that happening anytime soon. Now, if it does happen, great. That would be great if it did, but I'm not really expecting serious downside. So I've currently abandoned the ultra bearish target. And I do believe we had 5 waves down, and I do believe we had 3 waves up. And again, what I will say is we have hit the 618 right here. I'm just going to go ahead and move it on over to the right, because that's a level that you always want to pay attention to. It's one of my favorite trades. I always look for a 618 pullback, and if you can get a 618 pullback with significant bearish divergence, and we had that here, again, let me just go ahead and kind of outline this on a 4-hour time frame. We had a little bit of a higher high, and then we had, of course, a lower high on the indicator. That is bearish divergence, and it confirmed, right? That bearish divergence confirmed yesterday when we had that push down. And again, I also talked about confirmation on divergence, not to call divergence too early, and hence here we are. Now we have that confirmation that we had bearish divergence, and now it is in the process of playing out. And when you're playing divergence, you always need to pay attention to the time frame that divergence developed on. If you're looking at divergence on a 1-minute time frame, it's only going to last a few minutes, right? If you find divergence on a 4-hour time frame, it's going to take a couple days to play out. And again, we could have some waves between here and then, but what I expect we're going to do, and the reason why I've got these 2 Fibonacci pulls on here is because, first off, we have a dominant pivot low, dominant pivot high. This range is important. Okay, then we have a dominant pivot high and a dominant pivot low. So this range is also important. And what did we find? Of course, we've already discussed this, but we found the rejection here at the 618. That is also important, and the potential for the correction of a 3-wave correction. Now we're starting to see movement to the downside. So what's going to happen from here? Okay, so mixed with the fact that we have a nice buy signal here on the hourly, I would expect today's probably going to be a green day. And the downside target for this, right, for this to play out, the downside target is at 3,700. I don't expect we're going to get much more than that. And if I take my trend-based fib extension tool, which again, I use this all the time. Yeah, you guys all should be familiar with how to use this. I'm going to take dominant pivot high, dominant pivot low, we get our pullback, and let me throw the 618 on here. So we've got confluence here right at 3,800, right? 3,795. That's where the 618 is. So if we're going to get just a double bottom and rip up, that would make a whole lot of sense. The negative 236 is at 3,700. And if we're going to be a little more bearish, but not super bearish, we've got tons of confluence at the 382 extension, which is at 3639. The 786 of this dominant pivot low, dominant pivot high, the internal retracement 786 is at 3637, which is only 2 points off. And we also have the 100% extension from this dominant pivot high, dominant pivot low, projected from this pullback target. And let me just look here, because I think I may have this not exactly perfect. So let me just zoom in this area right here just to make sure that I've got this pinpointed at the exact point. Try and make it as perfect as possible, although nothing is perfect. That takes the 100 up here to about 3644. So there's a ton of confluence down here at this area. Now, if we get there, I'm a buyer. I am definitely a buyer if we get down here to this area. So how long could it take for this to play out? Okay, market geometry is one of my favorite things to look at. So let me just go ahead and clean off a little bit of this. I think I'm going to keep the negative 382. I'm going to remove the negative 236 for the time being. There's not a whole lot of confluence there, with the exception that it does have a little bit of confluence with this low right here at 3,700. So, there's that to pay attention to. These are all just profit-taking targets, by the way, if you're short. Taking a look at profit-taking targets. Giovanni, Kevin, hey, good morning. Thanks for joining in this morning here. What I'm going to do, I'm going to put a channel on here. I'm going to put a channel on this, and we're going to see if we can get some confluence with a time cycle target here for a move to the downside. So I'm going to get my parallel channel, dominant pivot high, got another high right here. That's a dominant pivot. Pull this down and just note one thing. Excuse me. Note one thing. Note the fact that we've got, of course, a nice pivot here, a nice pivot here. But then we also have on our 3 and our 5, we've got good pivots down there as well. So there is a little bit of confluence for this channel to be valid. And let's also mix it with the fact that we have, a little bit of a support right here. We've got support right here at this median. So it also tends to lean to the fact that this channel does have some validity to it. So our downside target, so where everything kind of gets in confluence with each other, is actually on February 1st, which is actually before my time cycle target, which is on February 14th. February 13th, February 14th, right in that general area. So on the 4 hour, again, we've got a lot of things that have extended down into oversold territory. So again, likely today we're going to get a bounce. So I wouldn't be looking to short today. I would be looking to short a pullback. And if I go to, say, a 30-minute time frame and take a look at this, we're starting to already see signs that things are starting to pivot a little bit to the upside. So what our target is going to be from this dominant pivot high right here, this dominant pivot low right here. And let's go ahead and pull things out and see if we can find some confluence with some of our areas with the move down. So lots of resistance here, 39.70. We're going to have some resistance here at this 39.55 level. So if we do see a move to the upside, and again, I don't see any reason to suspect that we won't see a move to the upside today. I do believe that we probably will. I would say this 382 is going to be our key level, this 39.55. And again, I'm going to be looking for this to go down in 5 waves. So what I don't like is from this high right here to this low right here, it looks like it came down in 3 waves. So I am a little skeptical. But this would be a wave 2 target that could work out, right? So we've got a nice corrective wave up here into a wave 2. And then this move here is extremely impulsive. So wave 3 and then wave 4 at the 382, as we normally expect a wave 4 to hit, and then we go down here for wave 5. Okay, I'm going to change the color on this because it's a little dark and gloomy. So we're going to get wave Y right there, and then we start a wave 1, 2. And again, a couple things that I don't like about this 1, 2, going down to a 15-minute time frame. What I don't like about the 1, 2, again, is the fact that we came down in 3 waves. So that really only works in the case of a diagonal. So there is potentially something else going on here, which could be in the form of, this being a 1, 2, 3, and then we're actually going to go lower today. But I think that we're going to have a little bit of a green day, especially on this 15-minute time frame. You can see all 4 waves are down in oversold all at the same time, and that is that is an indication that we're probably going to see a little bit of a bounce. Now, I'm not playing anything to the upside over the course of a couple days unless I see something that, really kind of shows to me. But, if I can find a day trade or something that can get some upside, I'm more than happy to take that trade. But if this is a 1, 2, We go down here for the 3, we hit the 4. Our downside target for this wave 5 is going to be down here at about 38.77. It's probably going to hit on Friday. So I would say that probably by Friday, we're probably going to see a move down here to the 38.77 level, which for the S&P, the actual index, not the futures, that's going to take us down to about 38.60 or so, and that would be by Friday. I don't think we're going to get much lower than that. After we get the completion of OPEX, right? So this is our 5-wave move down. I don't think we're going to get to the median. That median, right? So if we put that 382 on there, yeah, it'd be even lower than that. We'd be looking at a move down here to like 38.50. I don't think that's in the cards, but it wouldn't surprise me if we didn't get to the 382 and we stopped at the 236. Right, so if we stopped here at 39.36, yeah, then I can see an extended move down here to 38.50, but that seems a little far-fetched for the time being. But what that's going to be, right, if we're talking a corrective move, okay, we've got 5 waves down, 3 waves up, and then we're going to be looking at, basically from up here, we're going to be looking at a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And how it gets down there, that's going to be in the future. Nobody can predict the future. We can only make educated guesses based off of the price action. But I believe that this wave 5 is going to stop, somewhere in this area. That's going to be the completion of wave 1. We're going to go up for a wave 2. And then we're going to go down for the 3, find resistance here at the median for the 4. I think this wave 3 is going to break through, and then we can get down here to wave 5. What is the level of invalidation for this count? Well, the level of invalidation. So this is going to be our bearish level of invalidation. Because of the sell-off that we had, this is our bearish level of invalidation. So we're going to put bearish invalidation level. That's going to be our level where this count is no longer valid and we're going to continue making a move to the upside. So that's the S&P futures. The SPX, the actual index, again, we've been watching this and we see an extended move down here to the 175 at the close. And of course, we're going to be extending lower than that as as the market opens. I did discuss the possibility that we had an expanded flat here into an ABC, but with the gap down, that's really sort of invalidated here for the time being. This level is going to be important moving forward, which is at 39.84, but still your bearish level of invalidation is still going to be right here at this 4,015 level. I'm going to mark it on here as well. Bearish level of invalidation. So that is where, you start to get a little bullish. If we can get back up above that level, especially if we can close it on, say, a 4-hour time frame, that would be pretty darn bullish. Now, the S&P 15-minute time frame does look pretty bullish for the time being, but the red wave and the white wave, on at least for the cash index, is still, it's still pointing to the downside. But again, very similar take that I've got here. The target that I've got here right now is only about 36.72, which again is kind of in line with what we were just talking about, basing it off of the S&P futures. But this, it seems to work out very, very well that we've got the potential here for this A. We go down here for wave B, and then we go up for wave C, which wave C, by the way, let me go to an hourly here just to kind of put this into perspective. Wave C would go significantly higher, right, than what we have on this downtrend line. This is going to be what gets bulls on board. This is going to be where people start buying in and they're going to be convinced that the bottom is in. Getting down here to this 618, right, and I'm looking at the 618 on log scale. If I put it on arithmetic scale, it's actually a little bit higher. We're still going to be paying attention to that 3,700 level. So getting down here to this area is really key, and I think we're going to get it. We kind of found some support here at the 50. I'm going to go back to the 15-minute here just to look at the most recent price action, because that's what's the most important for the time being. Now, we found some support here at the 50, as you can see. I do believe we're going to get down here to the 618, which is going to be in confluence with these lows back here. Futures, I think, is going to dip lower, as it commonly does. I think the cash index may stop at the 618, but I do think futures is going to make that dip lower overnight. And I think that's what's going to spur the next rally. And again, that's looking at February 13th. And my time frame might be off, right? It may be sooner than that. It may be February 1st. It may be February 7th. But one way or another, before February 13th, we're going to find a low. At least I believe we're going to find a low. And I think it's going to be somewhere in this area. We have our bearish level of invalidation, right? So if we're wrong, we know when we're wrong. We know when to get out of whatever trade you may be in. Taking this move down here to at least the 618, that would be where I would get completely out of any short position that you're in and actually start looking for some longs. And I will be looking for longs as well. But the upside target, is going to be, 42.61, 43.63. It's going to be somewhere in this time frame, and it's probably going to happen by, I'm going to have to go to a higher time frame to get this. It's going to happen by mid-April. Okay, so mid-April is likely when this is going to hit, assuming that we do get down here to this target. I'm going to do one more thing, and then we're going to go ahead and wrap things up. I'm going to take a look at the channel that we just did for the ES futures. I'm going to do this on the S&P cash index. Dominant pivot high right here. Our next dominant pivot high is right here, based off of this level right there. Pull this down right here, and let's go ahead and we're going to have to pull this out a little bit more right there. So where would that take us? Let's just go ahead and look and see. So if it occurs here, right, if it occurs here on February 13th, the target is actually 36.50, which would be below, it would be below that 618. Let me just make sure we can see all of this price action here. It would actually be below the 618. It would be all the way down here, probably closer to, I actually think it's above the 786. Yeah, it is above the 786. So that is, that would be a little more bearish than what I'm really expecting. But that's going to be our channel target. And again, very similar to what we saw on the ES futures. We've got nice support here at the median. And again, I would expect that to be respected, on the way down as well. But then again, there's going to be something that happens that's going to push us through here, more than likely. And again, we know when we're wrong, and it's going to be right up here. So that's where I kind of see the markets going over the next couple weeks. It may not get this low. Again, this 618 is going to be pretty strong, and I do believe that 618 is going to be strong. We should be paying very close attention to that as we get there. And again, continuing to watch on the lower time frames, continuing to watch for nice 5-wave moves down. Okay, so again here, this potential for a 1, ABC into the 2, and again, we came up pretty far, right? We did come up pretty far compared to where this wave started, right? And then, we've got this nice move down here, and we're going to have a little gap down as we open today. It's probably going to open close to 39, probably close to 39.10 or so. So it's going to be a nice 15, 20 point gap down. That's going to be probably filled. I think it's going to try and fill that. It's probably going to happen pretty quickly. But watch what happens right here at this level, which is at 39.38. On ES, it's going to be about 39.50 as we get into the market open. All right, I'm going to go ahead and wrap things up here. If this video did help you in any way, shape, or form, if you enjoy this content, I do appreciate the likes and the subscribes, sharing videos with your friends. If you need access to our Discord, you can find that information on BitDoctor.org. If you want access to the free community chat on the Discord, there is a link in the video description. I have corrected the issue where people were getting kicked out of the server. If you were one of the people that has joined over the last couple days, we had an issue that's been resolved. And again, BitDoctor.org is where you can find all the information on the Wavemaster, on the education, on the trades, on our insured group, and all of that. So last but not least, wherever you are in the world, I hope you're having a good day, good night, and good evening. Take care, everyone.